I'm Rae. I'm an author, a social worker, a daughter, a sister, a niece, and I write in my spare time. I think it's important to write my version or my interpretation of what Black love looks like, just because there's a specific type of Black love that's kind of shoved down our throats. And I'm speaking about like publishing. Like if I were to go into Walmart or Target and I walk down the aisle, there's a certain type of Black love that I always see that's being written about. And that's really what made me start writing, because I was looking for a specific Black love story that I could not find. But it's super important for me to tell Black love stories about everyday people, because I'm an everyday person. You know, on my social media handles, I always put, Black romance writer, trying to make the mundane interesting, because that's really what I seek out to do. I feel like anybody that picks up one of my books, like they can read through it and they can identify with at least one character. At least I would hope so as the author. As far as happily ever afters in my romances, I feel like I write happy for now endings.
Hi, I'm Shireen Ray's mother, and I am here at my mom's home in Southeast Texas, is it? Okay, where I was born and raised, and where Ray spent a lot of her young childhood here with my mother and her papa, who kept Ray when she was younger. Thank God for Granny and Papa,
Did she like to read when she was little?
Yes, she did.
Because we both did. We both would read. I did books, she did.
Now that I think about it, Raven, you wrote your first book when you were I think you were in kindergarten. I don't know. She was always a reader, a writer, because she did write a little 7-page book when she was like 7 or 8 years old. Now that I think about it.
Yes. These are all of my books right here. This is the first book, the second book, the third book, the fourth. This is the whole series, and then this is my newest book.
She kept books, yes. Bookshelf full of books. So she loved to read.
The Black romance that I write, it's hard for me to describe, because I feel like it's like a mixture of things. It's a mixture of contemporary, urban, but I'm also a social worker, so I have like this social justice twist that I put on my stories. Like, it's not on the nose, but if people read my stories, they can clearly tell that I'm a social worker. It's just in us to look at the whole person and not just one aspect of the person. It just comes natural to us. And also I feel like, when I was solely a reader and I wasn't a writer, I feel like that was lacking in a lot of the love stories that I was reading. It was just those connections, Like, I feel like it's important to illustrate, the connections outside of the couple, because that shows you, who that person is as a whole. Just hearing other people's stories and their journey to reading romance gives me ideas on what I could put in my next book or books to come in the future. And then I'm a writer, so a lot of spaces I go in, my head is churning, thinking. I tried to stay true to the story, and I tried to stay true to reality. And so whenever I'm going to start working on an ending, I try to think to myself, like, in reality, what would this look like for this couple, 6 months down the line or a year later? How would this look for them? One thing as a social worker, you're gonna run across a lot of different people. You talk to a lot of different people. You hear so many different stories. So I can't walk into a room and look at somebody or, read on paper what they've done, or, hear from a coworker what they've done and automatically assume, well, they just, they're riffraff or they're this and they're that. It's always better whenever I hear the story from their own mouth, So that was kind of like my, gift to them, I guess you could say. Like, here, I'm gonna, write your story and, tell it and, you know, give it exposure to people who may, you know, maybe it's somebody out there who's never thought they'd pick up a book and read a book about a gang or a gang member falling in love. But it's super important to me to humanize the characters in my book. Is very, very important. Like I say, it's easy to write a story and make the characters 2-dimensional, you know, but for me, it doesn't matter if the story ends up being 500 or 600 pages. Like, each character has to be 3-dimensional. And I've told people before, like, even if it's a minor character in my story, like, they still have to have a goal that they're working towards.
I'm definitely shocked, but now that we're talking about it and I think about it, I guess I'm not that surprised. Yeah, I'm proud of her. Yeah, I have bragging rights now.
Ooh, when did I decide I was gonna write stories? So I've always been a reader. I dibbled and dabbled growing up writing stuff, but I would never finish anything. I would just write. I remember back in like junior high, maybe, I had a friend who also liked to write, and we had like this notebook where it was just this never-ending story where she would write a part and I would write a part. And it was just filled to the brim, just lit. I don't remember what we were writing about, but I remember that. Whenever I got to high school, I stopped writing. And then whenever I went off to college, I remember I had a professor at my college who, she really, really like made me interested in writing again. She made it fun. I think she really had a hand in like making me fall in love with writing again. And then whenever I graduated college and I was reading a lot of Black indie authors, and then I would just devour books on Kindle until it was like no more. And I was like, okay, I'm looking for this story. And I was like, I can't find it, so I'm just have to write it. So that's how it started.
Smart, very smart, very intelligent, yes. Quiet, but yeah, always focused. She was very focused.
Also, my first time talking on a college campus about my books. I know I have readers in college, but this is like my first time in you guys' space. So usually I come across, you know, readers at book events. So this is my first time doing this, but you know, I'm excited to be here and I'm honored as well. So thank you guys. I'm amazed by the power of my words. I mean, whenever I started writing Saving Sunflower, I don't know, it's weird. It's like I would write and then I would go back and read what I wrote and I was like, that came from me? Like, I wrote that? Like, where did I get that from? So it's an amazing feeling, I can say that. I don't know where it came from, I don't know. As an adult, I think spiritually I've gotten closer to my paternal grandma. She passed when I was little. I was young. She had cancer, but I feel like a lot of times, like when I'm going about my day, I find myself like speaking to her. And so I don't know, I feel like a lot of it comes from, you know, her. I had to have been an adult whenever, I can't remember who found the letter. I don't know if it was my dad or my uncle, but I think they were getting ready to tear down the house that she was living in because they were gonna build another one there. And so they found this letter that she had wrote to me before she passed. Yeah, it's dated and everything. And so just, you know, sometimes whenever I'm in like a funky place, like I'll go back and I'll reread that letter and I'm like, it's her, it has to be her.
To date, she's penned 5 Black romance books, and they're all available. Well, she sold out today already, but if you're interested.
Thought, okay, you're gonna grow up and you're gonna, you know, write these Black romance stories and you're gonna, you know, tell these powerful stories and you're gonna touch on all these social justice issues and you're gonna do it so beautifully and people are gonna come up to you and tell you, you know, how much they relate to these stories. I never thought that. And of course I'm biased, so I feel like I told the stories beautifully. I try to make everything ugly beautiful. That's just me.
You've won awards for your first book.
Yeah, yes, that's a blessing. to win awards for, you know, something that I didn't think would go anywhere. I didn't think anybody would read my first book.
You're just finding out like her pen name. Can you share like how you found out about her pen name and all of those things?
I sure can. So my coworker, who is my best friend, she was like, so what kind of business does Raven have? And I was like, you know what? I don't know, that's a good question. So later on that evening when I got off from work, I called her back and I was like, Raven, so what kind of business do you have? She said, oh, I just wrote some novels. So she told me a little bit. I said, okay, so what is your name? She said, you don't need to know all that, Mama. I'm like, yes, I do. I may want to read one of your books. She said, you wouldn't. I said, are they raunchy or like? She said, no, they're not, Mom. No, that's okay. You're not going to want to read them. So I said, why don't you send me some pictures from some of your book signings? She said, okay. So she sent me some pictures, of course, and I'm like keyed in on one of them. She tried to black out her name and all that, and I was like, okay, I see something here. So I zoomed in, got the name, researched, and that's how I found out.
And my mom, she just found out that I write. And so she's not a reader, mind you. So she was like, what's the name of the books? And I was like, for what? And she was like, well, I want to look it up and see. And I was like, but why? And she was like, because I just want her to read them to see, you know, if you actually wrote them and blah, blah. I'm like, well, I did. And she was like, oh, so they're those kind of books. And I was like, they're not, but I still don't want you reading them. Like, I'm sharing this with you. Just accept it and move on.
Can you see your mom listening to Wesley and Jacoby?
Absolutely not.
She chews harder on the gum, and her fat cheeks jump up and down. This it? Yeah, unless you want something.
There's a lot of shit they don't teach in school. They don't teach you how to pay bills, how to cook a decent meal, what to do if your mama can't keep breakfast in her stomach.
How did that make you feel?
I was excited, but happy for her. That's a huge accomplishment, and I told her that. So, just really proud. I just want to brag to everybody. All of my friends, I just want to tell them, you know, hey, all her great accomplishments, you know, that's huge, yes.
But didn't you say one of your coworkers or something was asking because they had read a couple of my books?
That's after I found the book out.
Oh, okay. She was looking on Amazon for whatever. Why were you looking on Amazon?
For my coworker. And then I saw it, and then I noticed it was another book. And I was like,
And then she's like, did you write another book? And I said, yes, I did.
like, yeah, what, 3 months ago or something like that?
Yeah, I told you, I was like, yeah, like 2 or 3 months ago, yeah.
And her books are in bookstores.
So, they're all over then.
My name is Sherelle Goloversik, and I am actually a long-time resident of Humble, Texas. I grew up here. So I want them to be encouraged to see that if they write a book or when they write a book, there is a spot and a place for them, and it's not just on the internet.
Just to be in this space, I feel at home, honestly. Like the first time I came in here and I've seen all of the Black indie authors on the shelf, I'd never seen that before. I'm so used to going into like a major bookstore like Barnes and Noble and not seeing that. So it had become like a norm to me to go in and not see people on the shelf like Christina C. Jones, Love Belvin, Nia Forrester. You know, that was the norm to me. And so like when I see them like out in the wild, I get really excited. So to come in this space and they're everywhere, like, feels good. It feels really good.
Did you ever imagine that she would write love stories about young couples?
No, never can imagine her writing novels about love stories or anything like that.
When she was younger, was she like into things that was like social justice kind of mindset?
No, I don't think so. But she was around my parents. I would say she was a lot mature, you know, than most kids. And I think it's from being around my mom, watching her read. She'd want to read or write.
why I've chosen these particular social justice topics, I don't want to say like I go through like a list and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to talk about this. Really, I do what's true to the characters.
I always thought she had a really great, yeah, I'm not gonna say imagination, but yeah, creative mind.
Their little voices, I don't plot anything. I try to, but it never works out. It's a mess. If I plot, it's like ruining the story. So it's like a discovery thing. I write on my phone all the time. So, you know, if an idea comes to me, then that's just where it goes. You know, when I first started writing, I could go for like hours on my phone just writing chapter after chapter. Definitely plotting, it kills my vibe, like I can't. When a character speaks to me, I could be out, I could be at a bar, I could be at a concert, I could be driving somewhere, I could be at work, and I may see something or maybe I'll hear something and I'll think, and then I'll just like kind of chew on it the rest of the day, and I'm like, just spending time talking to my characters and getting to know them. But that's usually how it is. Or like, you know, taking in the experience and trying to see how it might look through my character's eyes.
How much of your personal life shows up in your books that you're aware of?
That I'm aware of? Not a lot, but I'm pretty sure if somebody knew me really well and they were to read one of my stories, they would probably say quite a bit, maybe. But I try not to like intertwine my life with the stories, but I understand that's impossible.
And you know there's a whole thing about that in your book, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
With Georgia and daycare.
Oh, it is. I didn't even realize that. I didn't. It is. Jade had her anxiety about sending Journey because Journey was a creature of habit. She was. Yeah, she wasn't big on making new friends, and yeah, her new daycare scared her.
Yeah, she would cry.
Yeah, that was definitely me.
It's been a year since you found out that Raven is an author. Can you tell us how you feel about that?
I'm feeling really good about it. Yeah.
Is this your first book event with her?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm enjoying it. And I love seeing all these strong black women coming together.
Yeah. Did I not tell you that she was a star?
Yeah. I'm still trying to, it feels good, but I'm still trying to absorb it. All your little personality in those pictures.
Oh God, and they're horrible too, these pictures.
No, they're not. I've dug out some pictures for her. And it shows her little personality. Still by herself, but.
Okay.
All right, so we have this 3 generations.
I hate that, but I know that's my superpower because I know I am resilient.
You good? You good?
Yeah, Ray, you gonna make me cry.
Yeah.